Hey guys, happy St. Patrick's Day. My name's Brittany, if you already don't know, and I film videos based around the paranormal and mythological creatures. So today we're going to talk about leprechauns because I think that's a pretty fitting thing for St. Patrick's Day. I remember back in elementary school, I don't know if all of you had this, but my school did it, where we would come back from recess or our special and some of the desks might be flipped over, or there will be gold coins with our name on it and like gold chocolate coins, and the leprechaun did it. We're going to dive into the lore of leprechauns. So leprechauns are a creature from Irish folklore. They are actually a fairy, so you sometimes wouldn't think that they're considered a fairy because when you think of the word fairy, you think of a humanoid being with wings that's very tiny. But fairy is actually a very broad term, and it includes a ton of different creatures. So they are a fairy that's in the form of an old man with a cocked hat and a leather apron. Now, leprechauns are often depicted in modern times as wearing a green outfit. However, in Irish folklore, they're actually said to wear a red one. So it's actually curious why that changed. There are also said to be no female leprechauns. There is no lore about how they reproduce, but there are a few different lore about how they actually came to be. So it is said that the leprechauns are descendants of the Tuatha De Danann. So the Tuatha De Danann were these supernatural beings who actually overtook Ireland in ancient times. Now, there's different lore behind them. Some say that they were aliens, some say that they're fairies. I will later do a video on that, but right now, we're focused on leprechauns. Another legend of how leprechauns came to be can actually be traced back to the 8th century, where tales of water spirits, are known as leprechaun, actually mated with a household fairy. So this child from the leprechaun and the household fairy actually developed a penchant for heavy drinking, which leprechauns are known for being heavy drinkers. A lot of depictions definitely show them with like a beer in their hand or something in that regard. It is also said that the leprechauns could also be the unwanted children of the fairy realm. So that version's a little bit darker. There's no clear cookie cutter answer of how the leprechaun came to be and how they reproduce and continue to be a species. So we don't know if maybe they don't reproduce at all and they are, eternal. They have eternal life. Or if they don't and there is a method of that, there's really no lore on that. Now, according to other researchers, the term leprechaun actually comes from the Irish term leithbrogan, which means shoemaker. So this would make sense in the fact that leprechauns are shoemakers and cobblers of the fairy realm. They're also known to be wealthy, and they're said to have a pot of gold that they actually bury at the end of the rainbow. But it is also said that leprechauns don't only keep their gold, they also hold on to gold from other fairy creatures who actually entrust them with guarding their gold. Now, it's also said that if you capture a leprechaun and threaten them with bodily harm, that you can actually convince them to tell you where their gold is hidden. Now, this doesn't often work, which that's not a great thing for you to do in general. Like, that's a pretty morally wrong thing to do anyways, but Normally this doesn't work because the leprechaun often outwits the human and convinces the human to glance away for a moment while the leprechaun vanishes. Leprechauns are also known as tricksters. However, they are not as troublesome as their cousins, the Clericon. Now, the Clericon are prone to causing havoc and are often depicted as emptying out entire wine cellars and being drunk. Now, according to some folklorists, the Clericon and the Leprechaun are one and the same, which basically means that the Leprechaun is one way during the day and a completely different way at night. So then they turn into what we know as the Clericon. Now, the other interesting thing is leprechauns are actually a protected species in Europe. There are said to be 236 leprechauns, and they are actually a protected species. And it is said that these 236 leprechauns are actually living today in the Carlington Ford Mountains. Now, in 1989, the remains of a leprechaun was allegedly found by a local pub owner named PJ O'Hare. Now, one day, a scream was heard near a well, and when PJ O'Hare arrived at the scene, he saw bones, a tiny sou, a couple of gold coins, and this was all placed near scorched earth. These items are now actually displayed in a glass case. So that's actually pretty interesting because it could be the remains of an actual leprechaun. That could be definitive proof, but I don't think that it was ever tested, but I'm not completely sure. I want to hear what you guys think. Do you believe that the possibility that leprechauns might exist? And I hope that you guys have a great St. Patrick's Day. See you next time.